Most people in life are living their life by default. Who the heck ever told us about getting intentional about life? Who on earth ever taught us how to design our dream life? It's those goals, those dreams that help give our life direction and help us to move in a certain way. So quite a long time ago now, many years ago, I came across a quote by Tony Robbins, and he said, 10 years from now, you'll surely arrive. The question is where? And I remember thinking to myself, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to arrive in 10 years. And it made me realize maybe this is why I've been going around in circles. Maybe this is why I've been feeling so stuck and so frustrated, because I don't actually know where I'm trying to get to. At the time, I felt like so much anxiety around, I felt like I was having a quarter life crisis at the time. And I felt like I wanted to live a big and amazing life, but I just didn't know what it really looked like. And I felt so trapped because I wasn't living the life I wanted to be living, but I also just didn't know what the answers were. But when I saw that Tony Robbins quote, it made me realize, well, I'm never going to get out of the situation I'm in until I actually know where I'm trying to get to, until I have that clarity. Up until that point, I was largely living my life by default, not by design. And I realized it needed to change. And the sad part about all of this is that most people in life are living their life by default. So many people are just drifting through life. Unfairly so, I think, because who the heck ever told us about getting intentional about life? Who on earth ever taught us how to design our dream life? How to actually figure out what it was all supposed to look like? No one ever told us that. No one told most people about that. And so most people are just floating through life. If you literally went out onto the streets and started talking to people and said, hey, what are your goals for the next 10 years? What are your goals for the next year? Most people would look at you like, I don't know. I know so many of you here listening to this podcast are different, and I know a lot of you do have goals, which is amazing, because it's those goals, those dreams that help give our life direction and help us to move in a certain way. For me, when I decided back then what I wanted my dream life to look like, what I wanted my dream business to look like, it then, sorry, there's a siren going by. It then was that helped shape who I became. That getting clear on those things changed the decisions I made, the action I took. And because of the decisions and the clarity and the intentions I set all those years ago, that's what has got me to the life that I'm living today. The life I am living today is a life I set out to live by design, with intention, on purpose. I am living this life because of who I became all those years ago, because of the actions I began to take all those years ago, because of the direction I set myself in all those years ago. And the truth is, who I become 10 years from now is going to be determined by who I am being today, the actions I am taking today. And it's the same for all of us. But if we're not clear on that, if we're a bit hazy and wishy-washy with it, then where the heck are we going to end up? I don't know. And so for me, this has been such an important part of my life. And it always has, to be fair. I've always felt so fortunate because my dad, ever since I was a little kid, always said to me, Carrie, you can do anything you put your mind to. And he always got me to believe in myself and to believe that anything was possible. He was always going around the house quoting Jim Rohn. He was always, giving me personal development books. I remember as a teenager, he would buy me, he bought me the Rich Dad Poor Dad books. He bought me Sean Covey, who was Stephen Covey's, or is Stephen Covey's son, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teenagers. I remember him sitting me down in front of the TV, and it was like a videotape of Jim Rohn. I was like, Dad, who is this old man you're wanting me to watch? And at the time, there was some bits I got, some bits I didn't. I remember when I was 9 or 10, he sent me and my sister and brothers on this weekend course to learn about the power of the mind and the power of dreaming. And we got taught how to do visualizations and how to dream and think. So from a really young age, I have been exposed to this. And, so many of you who have listened to this podcast for a long time and watched my videos for a long time, you've probably seen my goal folder where I literally, in my goal folder from when I was a teenager, have all the things in there about, I mean, like I got bank statements and changed bank statements to, I added like all the zeros on. I think one of them was like 400 and something million. There was pictures of houses, of designs I wanted. I always wanted to build my own house, and there was designs in there. There was cars. There was a bottle of perfume in there of how I wanted my life to smell when I was successful. So for a really long time I've been doing this, but like even when I got to my mid-20s and I'd fallen off the bandwagon and I had just kind of disconnected from dreaming, and that's when I got stuck in that rut and that cycle of like, where the hell am I going in my life? And I felt really stuck, and that's a place that I think so many of us find ourselves in. And I still have, I mean, over the years, even since then, have found myself in that, where am I going? What am I doing? What is this all about? And I always feel like when I get to that place, it's because I'm so disconnected from myself. I'm so disconnected from my dreams. I just don't have a clear vision. So, but the point for me is that I know how to get back to the clear vision. I know how I can get reconnected. I know how I can start being intentional about what I want for myself. And all of us can do this. It's simple stuff. And it's just making the time for it, which so often we don't make the time because we're busy doing so many other things which we think are more important. But quite frankly, there's nothing more important than this, because this determines who you show up to be, the actions you take, the decisions you make. It determines the life you have for you, your family, the people around you, everything. So we have to start from that place of intention for ourselves, for our families, for what we want, the kind of life we want. So to give you an example, the life I live today looks like this. I run a multiple 7-figure online business that has grown over the past, 10 plus years. I work a 4-day week. Actually, before that, I run the business that I love, a business that makes a difference in a positive way. Every single day we are impacting the lives of women from all around the world, which is so meaningful, because my first business, which was phone unlocking, does not make me feel like I was doing anything good in the world. And so it was that intention of, I want to actually build a business doing something that I feel passionate about, something that I love, something that's making a positive difference. So I feel so happy that I get to do that. And don't get me wrong, it's not like, there are many, many times where I just don't love my business. So there are many times when I'm like, I want to quit this thing because it's hard and it's challenging, it's frustrating, but most of the time I do feel really grateful. I do feel like I really love it, which I am pleased about, but don't get me wrong, it's not 100% of the time thing. Just in case you're like, gosh, Carrie, how do you love your business all the time? Yeah, no, I don't. So there's that piece. Then I work a 4-day week. This is something that, again, I've been so intentional about. Fridays are I say this, actually today is a Friday when I'm filming this, but this is an exception because I was off on Monday and Tuesday and we're going away on Saturday tomorrow. So this is my exception, but usually Friday is my non-negotiable family fun day. It's a fun day with my kids. My kids, Casey and Marley, they're 4, 2, they're tiny and they're growing so fast. And so when I had kids, I got really intentional that I wanted to spend the time with them. So Fridays are our fun day, weekends are family time. I don't really think about work during those times whatsoever. Like, I switch off from business completely. So many people ask me, like, you must be switched on all the time. And I used to be switched on all the time for it, but now I am not. I've trained myself out of it. So it literally on a Monday, for example, I get up with the kids. It's crazy in the morning in our house. It's like try to get them breakfast, like get everyone ready, trying to get Casey's school uniform on when he doesn't really want to go to school, and thinking of like how I can do it, which usually involves me saying to him, if I put my hands over my eyes, when I take them off, I'm going to be so shocked if you've got your school uniform on that I think I'm going to fall over. I'm going to crash into the wall. I'm going to turn into a lion and I'm going to roar. It revolves around doing something ridiculous like that, which 9 times out of 10 actually works and gets them dressed without a fight. So I'm acting like in the mornings, like crazy with the kids, being like silly and playful most of the time. Obviously, some mornings are a disaster and just end up in screaming, with mostly the kids screaming and crying. But then I take them to school. I will take Casey to preschool. I take Marley to nursery 2 days a week. And then I come to the office. I love this office space and it's like a beautiful space to work in. The team are in here occasionally, like at least once a week. So I come to the office, I'm here around 9, 9:15. I work for the day. I try to get home. I try to leave here at about 5:30 so I can be home in time for dinner and then bath and bedtime with the kids. And then I can hang out with my husband, Kellen, in the evening. And that happens Monday through Thursday. And then we go away. So for example, this year, as I'm making this podcast episode, it's May, but we have been to Tenerife this year. We have been to Greece. We are going away in the motorhome for a week. We've been away in the motorhome earlier on in the year. We are going to be going to Florida in June. We are going to be going to California for the whole of August. So we travel. We get out there, we do stuff because we love adventure, we love travel in my family, and so we've made it a point to make sure we actually do it. I am intentional about taking time off when like Casey's on his school holidays so I can spend more time with them because I realise they're little. And I was having a conversation with a guy the other week and he was saying about how, you know, so many CEOs talk about the compromise they have to make and that they have to work so hard they don't get to spend time with their kids. They have to compromise picking their kids up or dropping their kids off at school. They have to compromise going to their kids' events. And I'm like, no, that is not a compromise I am willing to make. And it made me realize, like, I think we get to have it all. Whatever all is, obviously that's completely different for every single one of us. But I really do believe that we get to have it all if we're really intentional about what that means for us. We get really clear about it and then we take steps in the direction of that thing. Because right now I feel like I do have it all. I have everything that I intended for myself. I have everything I set out to have. I have a business that makes a difference doing something that I love. It is abundant in the money that it generates. Like, it's amazing. It's really successful. It's provided so much financial security for me and my family. And beyond that, it's created the ability for us to do these amazing experiences. And support people and other people and charities and all sorts. I get the freedom. Like, I have a business that gives me the freedom. I get to go and work in California for the whole of August. I get to take time off to be with my family. I've built the business intentionally in a way that I can do that. And for me, that is everything. And the decisions I make revolve around, is this going to allow me to keep building my dream life and business, or is it not? For example, sometimes I think about, you know, different types of businesses, or sometimes I have ideas for doing different things. Like, okay, so I had a crazy idea for actually opening a Carrie & Co shop. But then I'm like, actually, no, because then how much does that restrict my freedom? And maybe it doesn't, because we just hire somebody to work there. But there are other ideas that I've had over the years that I've thought, no, because actually I think it would impact me in ways I'm not prepared to make that compromise. Or some software stuff we've been building out. Like, for example, if I went down the route of getting an investor, then I'm answering to an investor. So I have to put in a different work ethic. I have to work in a different way I have someone to answer to. And again, I think I've got little kids. I'm not willing to make that compromise. So for me, my life and my business revolve around, like, what do I want? And what am I not willing to compromise? And having that clarity has helped me to be where I am today, living the life I get to live. And it is not perfect by any means. It's crazy half the time. Like, you know, obviously I've got a team. There's like sometimes team issues, which can be so frustrating and draining. And it's the same for all businesses, because like, we're people, we come together, we've got different emotions, we've got different needs. And that's, you know, challenging. There are times in the business where stuff works. Sometimes it doesn't work. And again, that can be frustrating and challenging. So it's not that it's perfect, but I feel like I'm living my life by design and not by default. And that makes me feel really good. And I want to continue to live my life by design and not by default. So my question to you is, are you living your life by design, or does it feel like most of the time it's by default? If you had like a scale of, 1 to 100, 100 being I'm 100% living my life by design, 0 being I'm 100% living by default, where would you be at on that scale, and where do you want to be at? Presumably you want to be 100% living your life by design. So I think that we all have the ability to do this when we just make the time for it. And also, I mean, obviously we don't just start living our dream life overnight. Like, obviously not. For me, when I started to get really, really clear on this stuff a long time ago, at the beginning of building, then I started to build the Female Entrepreneur Association. You know, the first 2 years of building the Female Entrepreneur Association, I ran out of money. I wasn't living my dream life. I completely ran out of money. I had so many blocks around creating programs and actually selling anything. I was afraid to put myself out there. And so it took me probably like 4 or 5 years to get to a point where the business was actually kind of generating a decent revenue. And then it, took a lot, even more time to kind of get the other pieces in place. So it's not like it's like snap your fingers and poof, here it is. But it's a process. But that's the point, is that like who you were 10 years ago probably has a lot to do with what you've got in your life today. And again, who you are in your life today and what you decide today will have a lot of an impact on where you are at in 10 years. So if you go into the future to the next 10 years and then you work backwards from that, you can then start to change the decisions you're making, the actions you're taking, the person you're being, so that you get to where you want to be in 10 years. If in 10 years you know that you want to be in the best shape ever, you want to be super fit and healthy, then amazing. Then if you just eat crap for the next 10 years, you're not going to be there. But if you start eating healthy and you exercise and you do the right things, you will be there. Probably in a lot less time than 10 years, but in 10 years, you'll be where you want to be at. So, like I said, for me, this has been such a big part of my life, and every other person that I know that's really successful, it's the same. They are really intentional about the fun things they want to do, the kind of life they want to live. So there are 3 things that I think are really, well, there's lots of things, but there's 3 really core things that I think are so important to think of when it comes to doing all this work. And the first thing is just a really simple question of, what do you want? What do you want? What does your dream life look like? And what does your dream business look like? That's the vehicle for helping you to have the life you want to live. At least it has been for me. Obviously, it's what can give you the most freedom. It's what can give you the most control. It's what can enable you to have no ceiling on your earning potential. So for me, but it kind of depends on the kind of business you run. There are plenty of businesses out there that are more like jobs than businesses. So again, it's like getting that clarity on, what do you want for your life? What is important to you? Is adventure important to you? Is travel important to you? Is spending time with your kids important to you? Is taking a Friday off important to you? Like, what is important to you? And getting clear, and then knowing, for example, like just going back to what I was saying before, I work 4 days a week now, have 2 little kids. When I first started FEA, I was working blooming all hours of the day for many years. I realised that if I was to start a business all over again today with 2 little kids, I wouldn't be willing to compromise on that. So I'd have to figure out the time that I do have available so that I can go all in, and how can I be more effective in that time? Because don't get me wrong, I blooming wasted so much time at the beginning not knowing what the hell I was doing, when I could have got maybe more help, I could have got more support, I could have done more learning maybe, and just been more focused. So I'd have to just maybe do things differently, or maybe it's just going to take me a bit longer. So obviously all of us are in different situations. But really thinking through though, what is it that you want? What does your dream life and business look like? And having fun with that. And sometimes I find that seeing the way other people live their lives gives me inspiration for how I could live mine. Because sometimes if you're so used to living the life you live, you can't really see outside of that box that you've put yourself in. I remember one time meeting up with a guy who had a really successful business, and he said to me, how many homes do you want to own? I was like, how many homes do I want to own? Like 1, maybe a holiday home. And he was like, I want to own homes in every city that I love. And I was like, whoa. But in listening to him speak and him telling me his dreams, I thought, bloody hell, he dreams so much bigger than I'm dreaming. And what's crazy is that what's possible for one person should be possible for everyone else or other people, like it should be. So when I heard him saying that he wanted that, it's not that I want a house in every city that I love. That I don't necessarily want that. But what it switched on inside of me is dare to dream bigger. dare to want more, because the fact is we only get one life each. One life to make it as amazing as we possibly can. So the people who dare to dream, the people who dare and then declare to themselves that they are going to make it happen, they are going to find a way to have the things they want, to live the life they want to live. Those are the people that make it happen. And the rest of the people are, maybe having a great time, but like a lot of people get to the end of it all and then think, oh my gosh, I wish I could redo it and I would do things so differently. And I don't want that to be me. And I don't think you want that to be you either. So what do you want? What do you want for your life? What do you want for your business? What do you want it to be like? And start having fun dreaming and thinking about this. The next thing is, what beliefs do you hold around that? Like, what beliefs do you hold around the life that you can live? So many of us have limiting beliefs based on the upbringing that we had, the teachers we had at school, the things we learn, like the society tells us. So what are your beliefs around living your dream life? Like, for so many of us, we feel like we cannot have it all, that having it all is a complete illusion, that it's a complete nonsense, but it's not. Like, I'm not saying I have it all 24/7, like I don't, but I feel like on average, on the whole, right now in this period of my life, I have all the things that I wanted to have, which is bloody incredible. I'm so proud of that. I'm so pleased of that. But the only reason I have that is because I was really intentional about it. And then I kept taking those tiny little steps towards making it happen. And I really declared to myself that I was going to make it happen, that I could make it happen, that if somebody else can do it, then so can I, and I will bloody well find a way. And so I made that declaration to myself. We all have the option to do that, but so many people in the world don't know that because no one blooming teaches us. No one tells us this stuff. So what beliefs do you hold around the life that you want to live for yourself? Like, how big are you willing to stretch yourself? And how can you change your beliefs to keep up with the dreaming that you're doing? How can you upgrade your beliefs so that your dreams can become a reality and you can start to believe that they're possible for you? So really looking at your beliefs and thinking around, like, what are the beliefs that you hold that you right now that pull you back, they limit you, and thinking about those and creating awareness around them and thinking about, like, actually, how am I going to get rid of those? What can I replace those beliefs with? And then the final thing is, who do you need to be in order to make it happen? Who do you need to become? Who's the version of you need to step into in order to start living the life that you really want to live? Because when I got clear on all this stuff a long, long time ago, I obviously had like all these crazy beliefs and doubts. And don't get me wrong, I still have crazy beliefs and doubts today. That I have to work on all the time. But back then, there was a big part of me that, for example, I had the idea for the Female Entrepreneur Association 3 years prior to doing it. And I would set up websites and then I would do absolutely nothing. Set up websites, do nothing. I was so afraid to put myself out there. I was procrastinating. I was just putting things off. I knew I couldn't carry on being that person. I couldn't keep being the person that's afraid to actually go for it, because otherwise I was just going to stay stuck in the same cycle that I've been stuck in for 3 years. So I knew I had to change who I was being. I had to be the person that was willing to show up for my dreams. I had to be the person that was willing to learn, to go all in, to take the messy action, to be imperfect and just go for it anyway. And so I did. I started to show up in a different way in my life. And in doing that and in showing up in that way and taking those tiny steps consistently, just continuing on that path is what helped me to get to where I am today. And it's really no more complicated than that. Yes, it feels more complicated at times, but it really isn't more complicated than just deciding what you want and taking tiny steps in the direction of it. And yes, sometimes you're going to go 50 steps backwards. That's just going to happen. But if you just keep yourself going, you keep on the track, your life will change. It will evolve. You will start living the life that you dreamed of. You can't not. You can't not if that's the way your energy's going, the way your direction, the direction that you're going in, which is so blooming exciting because so much is possible for every single one of us. I've seen it over and over and over again. And I've heard the most amazing stories. Like the story of, I remember hearing the story of Wilma Rudolph a long time ago. And she had polio when she was little. And so she really lost the mobility in her legs. And she would see her brothers and sisters playing basketball out the window, and she wanted to play with them. And she was stuck inside, like with the condition that she had. And so she decided that she was going to figure out how she could do it. So she started to learn to run. And obviously at the beginning, she wasn't that great, but she kind of practiced. And then she got a little bit better. And then she started to be able to actually run a little bit. And then she got a little bit faster. And then she started to get much faster. And then she started to get really, 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 really fast. And I think it was in 1960 or somewhere around then, she won the gold in the Olympics for running. So much is possible, but so often we carry these beliefs around why it's not possible for us. But like I said, we're all here for one experience. How about we smash those beliefs? How about we tell ourselves we can have it all? How about we declare to ourselves that this is going to happen for us? This is going to happen for me. I choose to believe that I can have the things I want to have. I choose to believe that I can have it all. And why don't we just step into it? So I hope this has inspired you, and I hope that it helps you to go and make the time to dream big and to think about the things you want to experience and the life that you want to live. Make time for it. You get one life, like I said. Go make it amazing. You absolutely deserve to make your life the best it can possibly be. Do not let anyone hold you back. Do not let anyone else tell you that something isn't possible. Do not let anyone else try and limit you. You decide what you want for you and go for it. Go for it like with everything that you've got, because you're worth it. Your life is worth it. Take care. Bye. If you want more help to build a really successful online business, then come and take our quiz. We're going to ask you a few simple questions, and then after that, we'll give you a personalized plan for how you can build a really successful business based on where you are at. Go and take it. The link is below, and I will see you in the next episode.